a media narrative that goes like this, and I'm sure you've heard it a million times. People of the left, they're more likely not to be racist. People of the right and conservatives, they're likely to be racist. And Donald Trump, of course, about the most racist of all. You can't shift this story. Ergo, why in the world would black voters vote for Trump? Well, I thought I would ask one black woman who is, in fact, running for Congress for Trump's Republican Party in November. Now, Kathy Barnette grew up on a pig farm in Alabama, eventually became an adjunct professor of corporate finance, served in the Army Reserves for a decade, became a national commentator, including on Fox News, and wrote Nothing to Lose, Everything to Gain, Being Black and Conservative in America. I spoke to Kathy Barnette about these media narratives a short while ago. Kathy Barnette, thank you so much for joining me. The Democrats of the left get more than 90% of the black vote at every presidential election, but you're the author of a book, Nothing to Lose, Everything to Gain, Being Black and Conservative in America. Why should blacks vote Republican instead?
The question is one that I pose to the black community quite often. We have been Democrats' most loyal constituents for the past 56 years. There is no other group of people who are more loyal to the Democrat Party. And the question must be asked, what exactly have we gotten for our loyalty? We know what the Democrat Party gets. They cannot secure the White House without at least getting 85 to 90% of the black vote. But what exactly have we gotten? Because every metric that you look or that you study, the black community unfortunately falls at the very bottom of that list. Our schools are some of the worst schools. Our communities are some of the most dangerous communities. And it begs the question, what exactly have we gotten? And then when you begin to ask that question and force people to take a very hard look at the Democrat Party, then they have to come to a decision. What exactly are you willing to continue to give to the Democrat Party?
Now, we keep reading that Donald Trump is a racist. How do you see it? Why should blacks or any people from any racial minority vote for him?
Well, if he is a racist, he is perhaps one of the worst racists ever. Specifically for the black community, President Trump has addressed every single issue the black community has ever brought to either side of the political aisle. And so, as I often say, if you don't like President Trump, fine. I personally don't care. This isn't a beauty contest. What I ask people is to move beyond their emotions, recognize when someone is working in your favor, and then to have the good sense to get out of the way so that they can continue to work in your favor. And again, it's not about emotions, it's not about feelings, it's a statistical fact. So time and time again, whatever the issue is, whether we're talking about education in the historically black colleges and universities, President Trump did what Obama never decided to do as far as helping out historically black universities and colleges. These things are meaningful. Black people are not stupid. We recognize when someone is working in our favor. And although Democrats think they have our vote in their back pocket, time and time again, black people are showing, if you believe the polls, that that may not be the case come this election.
And of course, he drove, at least until the coronavirus pandemic, he drove black unemployment to record low levels. The Democrats strongly back the Black Lives Matter movement. Very few Democrat leaders challenged the protests, which obviously included a very destructive element. What do you think the Black Lives Matter movement is actually achieving?
The Black Lives Matter Global Network Incorporated did bring to the forefront a conversation that needs to be had. And that is one on race, that is one on the inequalities and the imbalances that we continue to see in those particular communities that continue to be marginalized. They did do that. But that particular organization, the life of my Black family, I'm a Black woman married to a Black man raising Black babies. Black Lives Matter Global Network Incorporated does not care about our lives. And when you look on their website, they're very upfront about their aspirations, and one of them being the destruction or moving or denormalizing the nuclear family in the Western civilization, which of course I grew up in a single parent household. I know firsthand the devastation and what awaits a family who is, if a mother is a single parent or a child growing up in a single parent household. Now, fortunately, by the grace of God, my family, myself, my brothers, we were able to be a success, but it was not easy by any stretch of the imagination. And although Black Lives Matter Global Network Incorporated lean towards the village model, I can assure you the village does not take care, does not provide a safe environment for a child to grow up in.
Two professors, one at Yale and one at Princeton, have just published a new study in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, and they argue that people on the left tend to talk differently to people from racial minorities than do conservatives. They downshift, these professors say. They say that conservatives speak to racial minorities, white conservatives, more as equals, but they say that white liberals may unwittingly draw on negative stereotypes, dumbing themselves down in a likely well-meaning, folksy, but ultimately patronising attempt to connect with the outgroup. Is that your experience?
You know what? I mean, I could not have said it better. I believe that's exactly what we are experiencing here in America, time and time again. We can just look at the rioting and the looting that went across, that spread across our nation like wildfire. You had primarily white liberal mayors, governors, and other politicians who have a more liberal Marxist left bent about themselves, saying to the American community, just give them space, just give Black people space, just allow them to riot and to loot and to burn up and destroy their own community because they are suffering and they have a lot of pent up frustration. I find that rationale, that premise to be very racist, because we would never expect a white person to just go out and riot and loot and destroy their communities. We would never expect an Asian, an Indian, or any other group of people to go out and destroy their property. Instead, we would expect them to come and have a coherent conversation with us, to sit down and to discuss and to debate what their frustrations are. We would never say, hey, you're so frustrated so you can't articulate your feelings, so we're going to give you space so that you can go out and be destructive. And it reminds me of how slave owners felt about their slaves during the time of slavery here in America, where they equated Black people to be comparable to animals and not have a very high degree of aptitude. And it seems as though today, when you have white liberals saying, hey, just give them space and let them burn out their frustration, is that white liberals don't think Black people's aptitude has increased that much since the days of slavery.
Kathy Barnette, it's terrific to talk to you. All the best for your congressional campaign, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.